we can't talk about HTTP without understanding URL. What is a URL? You've probably seen this for most part. You go to your favorite site, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or whatever, assuming you're sort of going on the web version or on your computer or any of those avenues. If it's not a web app, for most applications such as like Android apps or iOS, you may not see or deal with a lot of these things because they're sort of embedded within the app. They're happening in the back end. They're still using a bunch of URLs and calling servers in the back end and APIs and all those things. You just don't see them. But we're going to kind of attack this from like a traditional perspective where we're looking at, just typically going into your web browser and typing a URL. Now, let's kind of unwrap what these URLs typically look like. That said, most URLs, as you'll see, would include something like a HTTP :// www.example.com, blah, 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 search, and so forth. Now, all of these have some meaning behind them in terms of like they form what we collectively call part of like the URL itself. And the URL can be broken down into several pieces. The first thing we see here, as you see, we see HTTP. HTTP is basically saying this is the scheme. So the scheme can be anything. In this instance, because we're talking HTTP, you can clearly see that it says HTTP here. Now, there are other protocols that you could be calling. For example, there are FTP or there are SSH and so forth. And over here, those schemes would have been either if it's FTP, which is file transfer protocol, or secure shell, which is another way of connecting to remote machines and so forth. That would have been different. But in this case, it's HTTP. So when you see a URL like this, what you pretty much need to understand is that this is the scheme. It means what exactly or type of activity or action I'm trying to perform. Now, like I said, if it was a file transfer, it would be something like FTP and so forth. Then we get to what we call and I'm going to tackle this first before we get down to these things in the bottom. Then we get to what we call the fully qualified domain. So the fully qualified domain name, and you see it most of the time, would be in something like www.example.com, as we see in this instance.